Welcome back to Undulations. So recently, maybe you've seen some of the shorts I've been doing with the Castle ARP. That's kind of the main video I'm working on, but I wanted to backtrack. There was a Korg NTS-2 oscilloscope video that I was working on, did some things, I don't know, just got sort of stumped on it. Seemed like there was a lot of stuff that I just didn't need to include. So what I want to do is go through a little bit up front about what it is, and then for the main part of the video, I just want to focus on using the NTS-2 oscilloscope as a musical instrument. And that's because it has function generators for like CV, but you can turn down the voltages a little bit, which I want to say up front, make sure that you do, and then use it in an audio generation mode. And there's a lot of different things you can do with it, and at the end, I'll show you a piece that I did for my ASMR channel. I did like the whole build over on that channel as sort of an ASMR thing. So if you're super curious about the build, you can look over there. And but it's going to be the same track at the end, more of a musical piece. And I'll just show a speed build of it right now because it's pretty much the same as putting a NTS-1 together. So if you did that, this is no big deal. So part of the issue with this thing is that it took me forever to get it. I ordered it, it got back ordered, canceled, and reordered, and then finally it came. And a lot has changed since I went through that. I see now that you can buy it without the book that it originally came with. So this is the box that mine came in, flat packed, and then there was this patch and tweak with Korg book. That, of course, elevated the price. This thing is pretty expensive if you compare it to other oscilloscopes. I think it's nice, though. It's got 4 inputs. It can do XY mode. And it's got the function generator stuff that we'll talk about. So let's see, also the fast Fourier transform. So spectral analyzer. It's kind of nice, but if you're just looking for something to analyze sound with, I'll just say up front, maybe there are cheaper oscilloscopes, or honestly, if I was going to be trying to analyze sound, for example, I would use my field recorder to make a wave file and then look at that in something like Audacity on the PC. So might be some other ways that where you just sort of freeze or capture the audio, and I think that cat's acting up. I'm just going to let him howl. Anyway, the thing that I'm saying is that oscilloscopes are sort of old school, so you might think of it as more of a visualization type thing, especially with the XY mode. For trying to get real-time info off of audio, I don't know, do you need that? Maybe. I don't really feel like I need to do a tutorial on the input part because it's pretty straightforward. If you've used any type of oscilloscope, or you can go through the manual, that part is good. But again, it's like in the modern age with something like a field recorder that costs much less than this thing, maybe using that in combination with software is a better way to analyze audio. Just throwing that out there. But anyway, put it together, went well. I already had the other patch and tweak book, and you know, if you can buy it without the book, this patch and tweak with Korg, then maybe that would be the way to go. But honestly, even though I sort of didn't like having to get the second copy of this, I like this copy better because it's more about stuff that I own and talk about on the channel. So like the Walrus Modular in particular, there's some cool patches and stuff in here. And so if you're into Walrus Modular, I think this is definitely a piece of gear to think about because the function generators in CV mode really pair well with the Volca. So all of that said, now I want to just focus on using the NTS-2 oscilloscope as a musical thing. So let's go start doing that. Okay, so here's the NTS-2, and just to clarify what I was saying, I want to be clear that I like it. I do like it, but if you've got sort of like one thing that you want to use it for, like as we go through the modes here, you push this button, scope, that's one mode. If you want it just as a scope, then there might be a better one. Wave, these are function generators. That's sort of my favorite feature of it because it can be CV and audio, as I've been saying. And then keep going. There's the fast Fourier transform mode for doing frequency analysis, spectral analysis in real time. That's pretty cool. Could make maybe a nice visual. But then the tuner, I don't know, probably better off with a different tuner. So it's just sort of an add-on. But the global features there. But back on the scope, you can also change the display and go to an XY mode, which is the way that I did the thing at the beginning of the video. So not going to talk about that. I'm going to go back over here and go to wave. And so this is the layout where you've got output 1 over here, and I'm going to have that on the right channel. I'm taking it out of the back there with a Y cable into the recorder. And then on the left channel, I'm going to have output 2. It'll just make more sense that way. Then you've got a panel of info for each of the 2 generated waves, and then within each of them, a way to edit and a way to select some other things. These are really both editing, but this is a little bit more like numbers, and this is a little bit more like categories, so makes sense. And then if you want to edit this one, then you just select it. But we're going to go over here, and a lot of this is done by just sort of old school push to keep sort of trickling through the interface. So let's just start by flipping through the category here. And a lot of these things, there's one main dial, and so we're just going to cycle through things. I'm all the way at one end, so we're going to go all the way back. And so your choices are going to be oscillator, and then LFO, and then noise, and then pulse, and then envelope for the different types of generated signals. And we'll see that the rest of this information changes as well. All right, hang on a second. I have to put the cat away. So in case things are hard to see, I'm just going to go through the panel where you've got the category, as I just said. Then the voltage, I'm using 0.2 volts peak to peak, but with some attenuation. So it's like I've been saying for audio, just be careful about that. And there's a type of generation that is the setting here. And what you can do is you can have it where you push. So that means that if I just hit this button, we'll get a sound. All right, so that's this oscillator sound. And then you can also have it be a one-shot, which isn't of much use from audio. It's more useful in terms of CV. Or the last one is a continuous mode, which for setting up something like a drone is invaluable because it lets you run one of these on one side continuously and then come over and maybe run a second drone, or you use the push button to play it a little bit more instrumentally. Okay, then the last setting over here in the category is about the input, which is like where it feeds back internally to the oscilloscope, so you can sort of see the generation of the function you're doing. I'm content just with sort of the waveform schematic that they have on here. I think that's fine. So I'm going to go back to push, okay? And then when we go to edit, so the other part of the panel, this is where we can select the type of oscillator, triangle, sine, square, and we can select the frequency, and we can select the shape. And so like for square wave, if I hit this, we'll get this. But then the shape, you'll see, has to do with the duty cycle. I guess that's more the phase. We'll That's curious. Anyway, sorry to get sidetracked on that. Okay, phase there, fine, and then go back to the shape. Let's see if we can tell a sound. Yeah, so we're getting some classic pulse width modulation there, and people have talked about whether this will ever have CV as a input on it. Seems like it could. I think I saw Loop Pop talk about that. But as far as I know, there's no official update. Maybe people have done some sort of mods or whatever on it. But if you know anything about that, then let me know in the comments. What I want to do is go back and just show you some of the different things. So for oscillator, we've got square, triangle, saw rising, saw falling, and sine, and then, which is really hard to hear because it's so smooth, no overtones. And we can control the frequency of this. Let me go to square and then go to category there. I'll hold that down and then change the pitch. I can't remember how low it goes, but all right, we're going to go back to category. You've seen the oscillator. If I change that to LFO, you get some different types of options, like whether it's inverted or goes above 0 in voltage or below. But the key thing is you got some different shapes. You got some different, you have like a frequency option on this one also. And so the sound is like this. But then more than just oscillator, LFO, which are very similar and have a lot of parallels, they give a noise train that you can do. So you can do that as a one shot or as a pulse. And so this is something to think about how you might use it musically. So I'm going to push that. All right, so we can go over to edit, and you can see something like on the duty cycle. I'm just holding this down, but if I go to duty cycle and make it smaller, pretty good. And then I'm going to go to the frequency or the timing of the gap, make it quite a bit smaller. So this will be so it's getting to something that's maybe a little bit more musical, like maybe a hi-hat or something like that. Okay, and then back to category, and there's pulse. This one is more clear for pulse width modulation, I think. I'm going to push that. And this is the thing that I'll talk about at the end of the video a little bit more. On this type of thing where it's sort of a train of pulses or noise or that type of thing, then you'll see that the parameter that you set that's sort of a frequency is just the timing of it. So 16 milliseconds is set here. If I hit that, that's a pretty low tone, but as I'll show musically at the end of the video, this is where we get into being able to have a scale on these ones that don't use a frequency like the LFO or the oscillator, but the ones like the noise, or which is more rhythmic, I would say, or this pulse, which is definitely tonal, but you get more of a scale because you're doing discrete jumps in terms of the number of milliseconds. So a lot more scale-like, and then also the duty cycle is just such a cool sound. It takes, you know, all your hands to do it, but I guess I could, let me convert it to continuous. It's some old school Defender type sounds. Okay, so then we're going to go back to category, and we've done oscillator, LFO, noise, pulse, and then the last one is envelope. And so this is pretty similar, but just it's got a different shape. It's still the thing with the frequencies, so you can get some different sounds, and they let you control the shape. So I'm going to just push it, and it's the same tonal thing with sort of a scale. And then changes to the shape. Round it off, make it more triangular. All right, so that's quite cool. And that's basically it. And we can do a combo of them. If I say I run that, turn it on, and then come over here, we'll just, that's at 8 milliseconds. So that's a pretty nice chord. I'll do the pulse width modulation. We'll get just sort of a nice drone sound. Okay, so this is the sort of thing that I think is just part of why I am glad that I got the NTS-2. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up, talk for a second, and then show you some music that's kind of based on this. Not claiming it to be anything great or that unique, but just maybe it'll give you some ideas. All right, so that should give you some idea of the types of sounds that it can make. I think that you can also try to factor that into how you might use it as a CV source. But the thing that sort of stuck with me, and it's, I guess, in some ways the crux of this video, is that a lot of those function generator timings are based on milliseconds. So for example, you can set something for 1 millisecond, which is kilohertz frequency, and then you could bump it to 2, so 500. And that's an octave change, and then you can go to 3, 4, there's another octave. And so we've got several octaves that we can work within on this device. But the thing is that by being trapped on some of those different sounds at milliseconds, you can think that maybe there are some notes that are missing. And so you can use the more continuous frequency sounds to sort of fill those in and make kind of a 2-note harmony. And so you can maybe want to harmonize directly with one of those notes and get like a beat frequency, or something to make like a 3rd or a 6th or something like that to fill in the gaps of a scale and kind of round it out musically. So check out what I did with it, and I appreciate you watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.